film myself chatting for a little bit. I'm so much further down than you as well.
You look tiny.
I need a booster seat.
Why don't you?
How's that? Maybe slightly further apart?
I think
Closer.
I feel like that.
Alright.
It's ridiculous.
Then can we actually chat like this?
Yes, it's fine.
Okay, let's chat.
Hi guys, this is Sam from Fluid Social, and today I'm here with Minnie Lane.
Hello.
Minnie has been featured on the channel before, and at the start of May, Minnie was on dark retreat, which means she locked herself away in her bedroom, blacked out all the windows, and stayed in silence and pitch blackness for a week. So we're going to get onto that for 10 days. So we're going to get onto that in a little bit. But first of all, we want to address some of the questions that clients have been asking us and some of the big thoughts that are on your guys' mind as it pertains to dating during and in the aftermath of the COVID-19 disaster.
Mm-hmm.
So, Minnie, what are the sorts of questions that you've been receiving from clients over these times?
Well, I think the main concern has been along the lines of how on earth am I going to have a dating life at all? A lot of people saying, oh, well, I might as well just give up then until this is over, because I can't do anything about my dating life if I can't go and meet people.
Yeah.
I get that, but it's actually not true at all. There's actually so much you can do to improve your dating skills and your attractiveness that is nothing to do with the other person, because most of the journey of developing yourself to become more attractive is a journey of self-development, and you only really need yourself for that. Also, there's online dating. Of course, you can't actually go and meet the person. Well, now you can, but you couldn't go and meet the person. But that actually opens up lots of other opportunities. Obviously, you can do Skype dating and stuff.
Skating,
yes. Do some skating. I don't think it makes much difference to my client. I carried on with clients. I got some new clients during lockdown who were actually thinking, well, this is the perfect time to work on my self-development and dating, because I've got this time off, I've been furloughed, what else am I going to do? And even in normal life, around 90% of the work that I do with my clients is just with them one-on-one, not actually going out and interacting with other people. I don't know for you, roughly what.
Well, mine is probably 90% going out with the clients one-on-one to get them going in the daytime. But so what do you think then? So in terms of the dating apps, because what I noticed is that Tinder, Bumble, and a couple of others have been advocating, Hinge probably as well, were advocating this online dating. So you can, like, instead of meeting up with people, you have a conversation over the app, like a video call or something like that, and they've been making their apps compatible for social distancing. What do you think about that, like, as a way for people to date?
I actually quite like it, because it takes a bit of the pressure off dating. I think one thing that people can get a bit hung up on is, well, if their time is precious. I know for me, sometimes if I'm not sure about a guy, if I'm like, oh, maybe, but I don't know, I haven't got much to go on, and then they want to go for a drink, part of me is thinking, oh, that's going to take up, a whole evening of my time, and what if I'm not that interested? Have I got better things to do? So I quite like the idea of having a quick call, and I think always make it quick. There's the option to go on, but if you sort of frame it as, would be nice, like, I'm enjoying chatting to you, like, it'd be good to have a quick video call. I like to be really spontaneous. I'm like, I need to pop out in an hour, but if you're around for
the next
half an hour tea, I'll just finish my coffee and then we can have a chat or something like that, or have a quick coffee. And then if you like each other, then you can, well, during lockdown, then you can not see each other.
I guess it's kind of good, because it takes the opportunity of sex away. And I think a lot of people, when they're going on a date, they have this sort of, like, for men potentially more than women, but probably on both sides, they have this sort of expectation of sex, and this thought that the idea of sex might influence the way they're acting on the date, or when should they try and go home with the other person, or should they try. And I guess when that's taken out of the equation and you're just talking over Skype, for a lot of guys, it probably takes the pressure of what they should do towards sex.
I think it really takes away that what can I get attitude, which is something that I'm always trying to get people to get rid of anyway, because an interaction with another person it's really a dance of energy. I don't know what that sounds like, but that is what it is. It's an exchange of energy, and through that exchange of energy, you're showing somebody what it would be like to be with you, sexually, romantically, you know, in a committed relationship. You're giving them an idea of what life with you is like. And I think when guys are on a date and they're too preoccupied with, you know, where's this going later, then they can accidentally be trying to, or on purposely, be trying to steer the date in that direction, and they don't actually create space for the getting to know each other, listening, and all the things that actually form natural connection that make her actually want to have sex with you in the first place. They're so busy trying to manipulate somebody into having sex with them that they miss out on doing the things that would naturally make a girl want to have sex with them anyway. Yeah,
and that's a good point. I think we should clarify manipulation. That doesn't just mean in the sort of like old school pickup artist fashion of trying to manipulate towards sex, but even if you've got good intentions, like even if you actually like the girl and you want to be, and you're a good person and you want to do good things, you can still find yourself behaving in a way that's not entirely authentic because subconsciously you want the interaction to end in sex. Is that?
Yeah, or you're trying, or even if you're not thinking about sex, but you're just trying to get her to like you, or get some sort of validation. You know, in a way, sex is a form of validation. Other forms of validation are things like just approval or recognition, you know. So sometimes I've been on a date with somebody and they've sort of just started listing off their achievements or these like famous people that they know or something, and they're obviously they're trying to seek approval and sort of respect, I suppose, from me. So I think the pressure being taken off is a really good way to practice with very little risk, actually just having an interaction with somebody and just enjoy getting to know somebody and really opening up and being honest about your experiences. Another good thing I think about lockdown is that it's made it a lot more acceptable to be honest about how you're feeling. Pre-lockdown, if someone said, "Oh, how are you doing?" I think that most people feel that they have to go, "Oh yeah, I'm great," and start telling somebody or on a date like all these good things that are going on in their life because they're trying to sell themselves. Whereas I think the sort of joint trauma, if you like, experience of lockdown meant that people could be honest and say, "Oh, you know, I've been going insane this week." You know? And actually that's a lot more interesting a conversation because it's real. You know, if I speak to somebody on the phone, or if I meet somebody on a Skype date, I don't want them to list off all the things that are going great in their life. If they've been really struggling, I'd much rather they said, "Oh my God, Monday and Tuesday were an absolute just write-off. You know, I was trying to do work and I was so distracted because I had all this other stuff going on, and then I finally managed to knuckle down." Or, you know, it's like
more human, isn't it? It's
like
relatable, it's human. And the other thing, because I've had some clients like this recently as well, where even though they know it's not attractive to show off intellectually, it's so ingrained in them to depend on their financial success or their life success that they feel like they're wasting an opportunity by not telling the girl all of their successes and, as you said, the people they know, etc. When in fact, when someone's really successful and happy with themselves, like, and okay with themselves, their success becomes evident within 30 minutes, right? You know when you're talking to someone that's achieved amazing levels of success because their success speaks through them, right?
It's in their aura.
It comes out in the nuances. It's not something that you need to be told directly. All that telling someone directly about your success tells them is that even though you've made that success, you're not satisfied with yourself despite it, because you need the validation of the other person.
Yeah, because we tend to measure success in really warped ways. Actually, the most success that you can have is to be completely comfortable in your own skin and be really happy and content with who you are. And that doesn't require you to know any famous people or have any certain amount of money in the bank or any type of car. And yeah, you know, like you said, when somebody's listing their achievements, what that's essentially telling me is that they consider that to be the most important thing about themselves. If someone feels the need to drop in that they've got a Mercedes, then what I'm hearing subliminally is the best thing about me is my car.
Yeah, it's not really
like,
in
well,
themselves.
I'll go out with your car then.
Yeah, take us for a ride. Drop me home in your Mercedes.
Yeah, I want to know what's great about you. And the important thing to remember is that what you think a girl finds attractive and what she finds attractive are not going to be the same thing. And we've all got this picture in our head of the type of person that we think the kind of person that we would find attractive would go for. So our ideal person, we think, oh,
I know
if they could have anybody, they'd have this kind of person. So
and then we correspond our behaviour towards that.
Yeah, and whatever the gap between you and that person is, basically, is how good you're going to feel about yourself and whether or not this person's likely to go out with you. So, so many of my clients would put being rich at the top of that list. They think, oh, women want, and for me, any sentence that starts "women want" is already flawed, because women aren't a singular thing. Women is a collection of lots of individuals, and all these individuals are completely unique. You know,
so what do you think about the women like confidence? Do you think, because confidence, I suppose it's not so useful because it's such a vague term. I mean, is that confidence social confidence, charisma, or is that deep confidence that an introvert could have in themselves? But like, would you agree with that sentence? Confidence is attractive.
There are some traits which I would call more virtues than traits.
Right, okay.
Which basically span across any personality type. And that would be not so much your type of personality, but how mature you are within that personality. So, we might like very, very different things, or you might naturally be more extroverted than me and love partying, and I might be more bookish and like staying in. And so our characters are completely different, but still,
hypothetically.
Yeah.
In reality,
we're exactly the same person. But we all have like mature and immature versions of ourselves, and the more mature you are, the more attractive you are, essentially. But I don't like to say that because people have a picture in their head of what mature means, and it means like old and boring and doesn't go out anymore, and that's not true. Maturity is how much you know yourself, really, and how developed you are in virtues. So virtues are things like honesty and integrity and authenticity and being confident, comfortable in your own skin, having courage. These are sort of universal traits that are attractive.
So what would you say to someone who might be watching who would say, well, I always feel like I've been a good person, I've been honest with my friends, I feel pretty comfortable in my own skin, and I've got a friend and he's a bit of a dick and he's not kind to women, but women seem to flock to him and not to me. Why is this happening?
Yeah, I get asked this a lot, and there are so many reasons for this, but pickup is actually quite an interesting example of this. So pickup was started by Ross Jeffries, who had no success with women, and so he wanted to change that. So he sort of watched what other people were doing and learnt techniques basically to get women to respond in a certain way. It wasn't
reverse engineer what he was seeing in people. He
didn't really care about the experience that the women was having, and he says this himself. And he said on a chat show once, "I don't care what women want. I care what women respond to," and that is absolutely fundamental to pick up and why women go for bad boys. Because if you're trying to control and manipulate, if you're trying to control people, there are two motivators to human behaviour. One of them is people moving towards what they want. And you demonstrating. And the other one is to move away from what we don't want.
Okay.
And so that's an act of love, going towards something that you want, I guess, and then an act of fear, going away from what you don't want.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, people are more motivated by fear than they are by love. So if you're en route to, say you decide to, I mean this is quite an extreme example, but say that you decided, what I want is an ice cream, so I'm going to walk to the shops and get an ice cream.
Mm-hmm.
If you're walking to the shops to get an ice cream and then a bear comes out of the street next to you, you're not going to carry on your path towards the ice cream. You're going to then
say hello, shake his hand, ask him if he wants an ice cream.
This is a really ridiculous example, but stay with me.
Right.
So then you're going to run away from the direction of the bear instead. So you're going to be taken off course by what you're scared of.
Sure.
And that's like an exaggerated example of what goes on all the time with all of us. So you might really want to be an actress, but then you're scared that you won't have enough money, that you won't have job security. So you don't follow that path of what you want. You try to escape the path of what you don't want, basically. And so you go off course on what you would have if your life was fully abundant and full of love, and you'd always been fully supported. And this is what happens with all of us in so many nuanced ways. From the moment that we're born, we don't just receive unconditional love and support and abundance from our environment. If we did, all we would do is go in the direction of what we wanted, and just go what felt nice, what we enjoyed. If you'd only ever had positive interactions with humans, positive interactions with women, nothing had ever gone bad. If you saw an attractive woman, you wouldn't have any fear. You'd just go over and talk to her. But that's not what happens. What happens is you see an attractive lady and you think, oh, she's really nice, and your curiosity is piqued. What you want to do is go over and engage because you want to experience an interaction with her, and just sort of enjoy that interaction. But then there's another thing at play in most people, because we haven't just received positive feedback and positive experiences. And so as soon as you've had a few bad experiences where you've been hurt, then fear gets into the equation. So you've got the pull, the want of to go over and talk to this person, but then you've also got the fear of there being danger.
Yeah, and that fear is both from the lived experience that you've experienced in the past, from unpleasant interactions and the potential for them to happen, but also it's ingrained biologically. Because our minds have evolved from a tribal mentality whereby if I were to go and approach you and you belonged to, for example, the harem of another man, right, of an alpha male, then I could be abandoned from that group, that tribe of like 100 to 150 people. So you're right, there's both this lived experience of fear because you've had bad interactions, so it's possible and it hurts, and there's this evolutionary fear which is ingrained from the collective human experience.
So we're born with all sorts of survival tactics, and many of them are things like not wanting to do anything that might mean that you get pushed out of a group, because there's an evolutionary advantage from our past of not being pushed out of a group. And even in our own lives, when you're a baby, you are reliant on other people for your survival. So you will develop behaviours through evolution that will support being kept a part of a group and being fed and looked after, and so we do have evolutionary behaviours, but then we also develop new conditioning in our lives, and that isn't necessarily, you might have never had a bad experience with a woman, but you might have had a mother who told you that you'll never amount to anything, or that made you feel that you weren't good enough in another way, or maybe you just perceived that your brother was the favourite, and then you concluded that maybe there was something wrong or unlovable about you. And all these things, we shove them into our unconscious, so we're not aware of these things, but it can then seem like a big risk to go and open up an interaction where there's the possibility of rejection. Because when somebody rejects you, it feels like that person rejected me, so they made me feel such and such. They made me feel like a weirdo. They made me feel unattractive. They made me feel not good enough. Actually, the truth is nobody can make you feel anything.
Yeah.
People can only trigger into your awareness the ways in which you already reject yourself.
Yeah.
So when you're completely secure about something in you, nobody can ever make you feel crap about it. I always use the example, like, if it's something that you know to be true about yourself, right? So I am petite, I'm small. I've always been small, believe it or not. I've never been 6 foot.
She's got
God
a booster
damn it.
seat.
I've literally got a booster seat so that you can see me. Yeah, so I'm 100% secure in my psychology that I am a small person. So if I went up to a guy and I introduced myself to him and he said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I don't talk to big butch manly women, so leave me alone."
Yeah.
Because no part of me has any trauma whatsoever around being too big, butch and manly. I haven't got any pain in me. Nobody's ever called me too big, too butch. No one's ever mistaken me for a man. None of these things. So I would just be like, what is wrong with that person's perception?
Yeah.
And I would find it funny, right, that this person thought that I was too big, butch and manly to talk to.
It would be a non sequitur. It would be like, what?
It's just, there's nothing in me for it to trigger. There's no corresponding thoughts for it to attach to in me, or fears about myself, or insecurity about myself. Whereas, imagine a different situation. Imagine that I'm small now, but actually when I was younger, I was the tallest in my class, and the first time
that would be a miracle,
it
wouldn't
would be, but like, just...
What about the fattest? That might be a more tangible example. Okay, you might have actually lost weight.
Fine, or maybe I looked a bit like a boy because I was skinny and my mum cut my hair short, and
don't make me
and so
that.
maybe I was bullied at primary school for being like a boy, and the boys used to make fun of me, and they said, "I'll never go out with you because you're a boy, you should go out with a girl," or the things that would hurt when you're a kid.
Yeah.
Now that wouldn't matter, you know, we're not gender phobic here. But when you're a kid, that kind of pain is very, very painful. And so even as a petite woman now, if I went up to a guy and he said, "Oh, sorry, you're too manly for me," if I'd had that experience when I was younger, even though I know intellectually that I'm actually quite feminine looking,
yeah, it would trigger your childhood.
It would trigger any unprocessed childhood trauma to come to the surface.
Cool.
And then I would be in pain.
Right, got you.
Because of that. But actually that's a good thing. This is the other side of it, is that it's not a bad thing for your pain to be triggered to the surface, because only when it's in your conscious mind can you actually transcend it, can you actually transform it into something else. So when it's in your unconscious, there's nothing you can do about it. You've got to bring it into your conscious awareness to be able to recondition it, to consciously recondition your mind. And
so noticing it is the important thing, right? It's like, oh, I've been triggered, right? Someone says something to me, a girl says something to me, I talk to her, and she gives me a look of like, what the fuck are you doing here? Like, get out, like, I don't want to speak with you. And that immediately triggers something in me, let's say, which makes me feel like creepy or weird, or like I shouldn't have done what I did. And then my job is then to recognize that what she said has triggered trauma in me.
Yeah. And
that recognition is the first step towards correcting it.
Yes, so to recognize that it's already in you.
Yeah.
The fear that you're, what did you say, a weirdo?
Yeah. Like, so the one for most guys, and I know this from experience, but also I have a lot of clients who know exactly what I'm talking about now. But the biggest rejection that you can get from a woman is the look of "you're a creep," because for a girl it's very different. This is one thing that is gendered. The idea of being a creepy person is much heavily weighted towards men, and there are some stuff that for women it's difficult to understand about men, and some stuff is difficult for men to understand about women. But creepiness is one that is a very male experience.
Yeah.
Like, you get a look of like, I wouldn't go near you. Like, why are you alive?
If you feel like a creep, it means that there's some thought in you somewhere that you might be a creep. And that's why you're feeling that, right? So good news, that's now in your conscious.
Yeah.
Okay, so then we can consciously look at that, and we can ask the question, is it true?
Right.
Are you a creep?
Okay, so let me... Well... So I'm trying to just put myself.
So what I would say is,
you say,
what is a creep?
What is a creep?
When we talk about creepiness, I think what is a creep? You know, there's this feel, people can be confused. I think particularly at the moment, men thinking, "Oh God, am I being a creep?" without realizing. I think that's that's the worry, isn't it? That they don't know if what they're doing is creepy, and then the girl will look at them as if they're a creep, and they'll suddenly realise, oh my god, I'm being creepy, and I didn't mean to.
Paralyzes
and
them,
I think, you know, intention is such a big part in that.
Yeah.
A creep is somebody who is purposefully ignoring somebody's boundaries, right? They're creeping over someone's boundaries.
Yeah.
They're not respecting somebody's boundaries. A creep doesn't worry about someone's boundaries. A creep tries to sort of push someone's boundaries or sneak in. You know, that idea of somebody sort of following you home or sitting in your front garden. I know that's not the kind of creep that you mean, but that is the creepy feeling. It's like someone being too close, someone being within your personal space. You know, they're not respecting your territory, they're not respecting the boundaries of your house, they're not respecting the social boundary of not following a girl home.
We talked about that feeling of creepiness as being, and I experienced that in the past. I knew what that felt like. I don't feel like that at all, because I genuinely just have had I've had so many experiences to prove that it's not the case, which has been amazingly helpful, because I can't really feel creepy anymore, because I just I've got so much evidence to the contrary, right? And so I don't have that feeling, but I have had it in the past. Like there was a time where I would feel completely unworthy of a woman. I feel completely unworthy of them. Like they must hate me, right? Because it's impossible to be any other way. So I intimately understand this pervasive sense of creepiness, which is the worst feeling for a guy. It's like feeling creepy is the worst. It's the bottom. Is there an equivalent for a girl? Like, is there a feeling or a sense that you get? I don't know, maybe physical stuff is more emotionally damaging for women. Like, if you're a young girl, for example, and someone calls you fat at school, I can imagine that could just destroy you for like a year. Whereas for a guy, it's just like, oh yeah, I have got a bit of a belly, right?
Well,
what is the feeling for a girl? What is the worst feeling that
it's so individual. You know, if somebody called me fat, is that going to bother me?
No,
because I don't have any trauma around being fat. If someone called me skinny, that would be more traumatic.
I get you with the individuals, but the same for a guy. A guy with a big nose is going to be more sensitive to big noses. But creepiness is one that is for it's like lingers in every man, is the potential to be seen as sliming and creepy. Is there one for women?
I don't think that's true. I think it's a very common one. It's very prevalent. I think particularly at the moment, you know, since Me Too and everything, I think guys who would never normally have worried about being creepy are now suddenly going, oh, hang on, am I a creep?
Is there a female equivalent? Like, is there something that a woman can feel that is that sense of like the stereotype of what you don't want to feel? Because I agree that it's individual.
I don't know, maybe something like, I don't know, being a slag or being easy or something. Like, I don't know, I don't want to speak for a woman because I don't... I think being, for me, it would be maybe...
Is it...
being used, maybe? Maybe for a girl, like feeling that they've been used or manipulated.
That you're easy for people to
that someone's used you for your body.
Is that a big one, you think?
I don't want to speak for a woman, but I think I'd say if there's one probably like most common thing that girls would have in terms of like trying to find a partner would be, is he really into me, or is he just using me? Does he just want one thing, or is he just using me for sex or something like that?
Yes, and I guess the thought lingers that if enough guys are using you, that they all see through you and they all just know that they can have your body and never have to even fucking think about who you are. Is that...
Well, yeah, it's not really something that I have experienced much of in my own life personally.
Maybe there's no way of mapping it on.
I think it's a common one for girls to sort of think a guy is really interested and then feel very used afterwards. And I think a lot of guys play on that. Whole pickup industry plays on that of, you know, how do you get a girl? You make her feel really special and then you get what you want and go kind of thing. And that's one of the reasons why girls have such a barrier up.
I don't know. It's very... There may not be a way to map it on, but I think you brought up an important point with the pickup industry, that maybe it's the reflection, right? A creepy pickup artist who's pretending to be one way, but when he goes home, he knows that he's not that person. That's partly the creepiness. Thinking that you're trying to do... You're masking over... You're wearing a mask, right? And for women, maybe it's just a reflection. It's like feeling that you can be taken in by the mask.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Feeling that you're so fickle that men can just wear a mask and you don't even understand it, and then they can do whatever they want. So that could be it.
Yeah.
So
Maybe there's the fear of being a creep is like, you know, are you overstepping the boundary without realizing? And I suppose the other side of that as a girl is, am I letting someone into my boundaries under false pretenses?
I think that might be it.
So it's all about boundaries and respecting boundaries. And the answer is for people to be more honest and open about their boundaries, and for there to be more communication around that, not necessarily even verbal, but to learn to read and listen. And that is basically just an act of paying more attention. You don't know where that person's boundaries are, and unless they're going to tell you, which a lot of women don't, or a lot of people don't, say they don't have the courage or the assertiveness to say, you're making me feel uncomfortable when you do that, or maybe even the awareness to know that that's what's going on, to be able to assert the boundary. Sometimes people don't even really acknowledge that.
Sometimes women will say, I actually felt really uncomfortable. Like, they gave me, I don't know why I gave you my number. I actually felt really uncomfortable. I just didn't know what else to do. Like, I've had clients who received that message and they've been like, what? I had no idea. It's,
and a lot of pickup techniques will work on removing boundaries, purposely removing boundaries, things like opportunities for consent, and pushing boundaries, using social norms to enforce or trap, in the same way that one of those charity people will get you to sign up to a charity. You know, they'll, again, as I said earlier, people are more motivated by fear. So if someone has a want and then they have then a fear comes in the way, that it will push them off course. And one of the techniques that charity people do is they'll say things like, you know, do you care about starving children in Africa?
Yeah, yes.
And then you're like, yes. And they're like,
for the
okay,
price
well
of a coffee,
then,
would you like to?
Exactly,
Yes,
and they're basically insinuating
Compliance.
that if you don't do it, you are somebody that doesn't care about children in Africa, which then makes you feel like you're a horrible person. So the fear of being a horrible person that doesn't care about children in Africa is more important to you at that moment than the money that they're asking for. And they very cleverly do that, and pickup artists use the same techniques. They'll say things like,
I must say some of them.
Some pickup techniques will try and push boundaries like that by saying, you know, if a girl says, oh, I've got a boyfriend, or sorry, I'm a bit busy, then they'll say something like, oh, you're not one of those girls who wouldn't talk to another guy just because they've got a boyfriend, are you? And make them feel as if they did that behaviour, then they're really frigid, or they're really socially cold.
Anything
or something.
trying to manipulate your way into a situation that she's not looking for is problematic.
You're trying
you
to
don't
push
want to
your
be
agenda.
anyone's regret. You don't want to be anyone's regret. You'd rather not have sex than have sex and then the person regret it, right?
Well, I think a lot of guys would disagree with you on that, and that is one of the problems, is that people see it as, my options are to have no women and no success with women, and for some people this is a reality. They've got nothing, like no interest in women, or they can learn these tricks to manipulate getting women. And given the choice, they think, well, I'd rather have sex with a woman and she hates it than not have sex at all.
But that's a learning curve. Once they've had sex with those women a few times, they start to realise that this isn't the golden
right, and you can cut out that middleman, because the thing is, it's like, you can show somebody, it's like, I say to guys, like, you know, if I could give you a magic cloak that made women find you attractive, is that what you really want? And a lot of guys would be like, yep, that's what I really want. And then if I say, well, would you rather have that, a magic cloak that made a woman find you attractive when you were wearing it, or just that women find you attractive for who you are without needing the magic cloak? Which would you prefer? It's always going to be that one, right? But they don't realise that's an option. So that's what they really want, but because they think that's not an option, then they go for what they think they want, which is to learn a way of manipulating women into finding them attractive by wearing some cloak, which is a metaphor for what is actually happening. You know, you're putting on a false personality.
It's a good metaphor.
Thank you. So yeah, but the truth is that you can be found attractive for exactly who you are. The problem is that you don't know who you are yet, and there's some uncovering to do of letting go of all the things that are stopping your natural attractiveness coming out.